Today, my PDGA rating is 931. Tomorrow, the day that you're watching this video, it's 947. And the reason I can tell you that, well, it might be 946, but the reason that I can most likely tell you it's going to be 947 is because you can calculate down to a number what your PDGA rating will be for the next month. So in this video, I want to talk to you about how PDGA ratings are calculated and how you can calculate yours for next month even before the PDGA tells you what it will be. Welcome back to Midranges Disc Golf. My name is Anthony, and I have the goal to make it onto the Pro Tour. So I'm making a lot of videos about disc reviews, training to get to that point, as well as things like this, which are just things that all disc golfers should know. So let's dive onto PDGA.com real quick and take a look at how ratings work. So we get on here, it basically just says that your ratings are essentially how well you play against the course and against everyone else who plays the course. What this essentially means is for every PDGA sanctioned event, there's some number relative to par, and for this example, let's just say even, that if you score that, you're like shooting really good. That's 1,000 rated. But if you go to any course, you're not going to be able to just pull up this is what the 1,000 rated round is, because it obviously depends on how the wind is, how early of a round even, what the ground action was like, and the courses do change, so that all gets taken into account when we look at how the rating system is actually calculated, the PDGA rating system guide. I won't get too much into how ratings are calculated for specific events because PDGA kind of keeps that all locked up behind closed doors, but essentially if there are 5 or more what they call propagators, or people who have played enough rounds that their rating actually is kind of average representation of how well they play, whatever they score, they'll like average that with all the other propagators that are there, and they'll come out with like, this is what this round is rated. We're gonna look at all my round ratings at the end of this video to show you how to calculate yours, but just know essentially nobody knows how those are calculated, and there's a bunch of controversy around it all the time. So this is just talking about what your overall rating is after having gotten all those ratings from all your rounds. All right, this is where we get into the real meat of it. Player ratings. A player's PDGA rating is based on rounds in the past 12 months prior to their most recently rated round. There's an exception for this later, but one thing to note is that the most recent 25% of your rounds will count double once there are at least 9 round ratings. This is something that we'll take into account later when we talk about the calculations. If you have less than 8 rounds within the past 12 months, the system will look back to 24 months, maybe you played something way in the past, until it finds either 8 rounds or has gotten to 24 months. But up until the 8-month point, it's going to count all of your rounds, even if you had a really bad round. Like I did in my first 8 rounds, I shot like 770 something, really windy round, second tournament ever, played it just absolutely terrible. But rounds more than 2.5 standard deviations, which is a statistical term, we're not even going to worry about this because I'm not a statistician, and the second part of this will probably be more applicable to everybody, or 100 points below a player's average rating are excluded from the player's rating if there are at least 7 rounds included in the player's rating. So my rating was never below, I think, 880 something. I think that was my first rating, and so that 770 whatever rated round should have been thrown out initially, but it wasn't because I only had like 4 rounds, and then after I got over 8 rounds, they threw that 700 something rated round out because it's not really a representation of how I played. It was just a really, really bad day. I think where the 2.5 standard deviation comes in is like for top level pros who are always shooting 1040. If they shoot like a 1060 rated round, it's only 80 points below, but it's probably more than 2 standard deviations, but I don't know, I'm not a stat guy. In case you're wondering about DNFs, if you don't complete a round, your score will show 999, which is what the DNF signal is. There's also an 888, which actually does affect your rating negatively, but it will not be included in your ratings round. If like you get injured in the middle of a round, it's not going to count towards anything. And you do need to have 13 minimum holes to get a rating for an event. I don't know if that's in here, but I think that's a thing. The next part of the site actually gets back into what we were talking about earlier about how ratings are calculated for an event, but honestly, I don't even worry about this. I just wait for the PDGA to tell me what my rating is. Now, we can determine based on these couple paragraphs up here where it says player ratings, how you can calculate your own round rating every single month. And how I've done this successfully in the past couple months, but there are a couple of assumptions that we need to make that I'm not 100% sure on. We're going to go onto a Google Sheet real fast, which I'm going to have exported and linked in the description on Gumroad, which is somewhere that you can just download it for free, but you can donate to me if you want to support the channel. But please feel no obligation to do that. It's just an option there if you do want to support. I have the super ugly now. It's going to be a lot more readable for you guys when I actually create it to go into that Gumroad sheet. But these are the important things that we need to look at. Every single round within your last 12 months, and then we need to essentially duplicate the last quarter of your rounds, as long as you have 9 or more. So if you have 12 rounds, we'll need to take your last 3 rounds, double them, and then we'll have 15 total rounds to average from. And this is where things get a little interesting, but let's do the first part first. And to look at your ratings, I just got PDGA.com. My player profile is already updated to 10,763. And if you go here to ratings detail, you can look at all of your rated rounds that are already calculated into your rating. Unfortunately, you really can't go based just off your rating and add your new ones in because there's a bunch of different rounds. Some of them are doubled, some of them are not qualified, and as we can see in my rated rounds here, all the way back to my first round right here, which was 863 rated, and then my second one was 904, and then I shot a 778 was my first round. My second round, that tournament was 992, 200 plus point difference. If you have a tournament where you have a bigger spread than 214 points between 2 rounds, please comment that, because I would be impressed, because that was a crazy split. But you could see that this 778 is evaluated but not included because it's within the last 12 months, so it got evaluated. Why can't I speak today? So it got evaluated, but it's not included because it's over 100 points less than what my average rating is, which is 931. So we still have to add that into our initial calculation because I'm not sure if they take that out before they average it or after, but I don't know how they would do it before if they don't have an average yet. So we're going to add that in and then redo that again. So let's take a look. So I've actually already done us the favor of taking all these rounds and importing them into my PDGA rating Excel spreadsheet, and I have them ordered by date, which is also very important. Before I post this video, obviously I have to make sure that I was correct, but I'm also going to show you my updated spreadsheet and how that works, because you can just copy paste in here, and I'm going to make it really easy for you guys to download all this information. But if we look at all my rounds here that are ranked by the date that they came up, we can see that I have 25 total rounds. Now this is where the first guess needs to come in play, because if you take 25 and divide it by 4, it's 6.25. So do they round up or down? And do my last 6 or 7 rounds count for double in terms of my rating? We're just going to assume 6 because I'm guessing they round. So if you have like 6.5, maybe round up and include the last 7 rounds. I would assume that it'd be the last whole number. So I'm going to say 6. And those 6 rounds are basically just my last 3 tournaments, which is 2, 4, 6 rounds. And if we take those, copy, and just paste them down here, those are all the doubled rounds. And now instead of having 25 total rounds, I have to divide this whole sum by 31. So if we take equal sum, this will all be ready easily for you, and divide that by 31, we get 938.06, which is higher than 2 of the numbers that we have on our list, the 838 number and the 778 number. So I'm just going to take these out of the equation, but now we only have 29 total rounds. So instead of dividing by 31 here, we can divide this by 29 and we get 947, which I think is what my rating is going to be tomorrow. I've done this the last couple of months and been able to calculate my rating down to a number. And now let's cut to tomorrow so I can hopefully tell you that I was right, as well as show you how your spreadsheet is going to work, because it's going to be a lot prettier than this one that I have on the screen. Alright, so the next morning I look much more of my normal craziness. Real quick, let me show you how to get access to this sheet if you want to use it. AnthonyBonanza.gumroad.com, or I'll leave a specific link. You have PDGA rating prediction sheet by Bonanza Disc Golf. I also had another thing for another YouTube channel that I have over there, but if you click into this, it's going to say name a fair price. You can put $0 there, no problem. This is just a pricing sheet, and then you'll add that to your cart, $0, and then put in your email address, and then it'll send it right to your email address. And what you'll get will be a link to a Google Sheet right over here that is shared, but you do have to make a copy. So when you get here, don't go up to share and request to be an editor. I will not let you be an editor, and I will become sad and angry because I told you not to do it. Go to File, and then make a copy, and you can make a copy for yourself, and then from there you can download to Excel, whatever you need to do. But here is a much prettier version of the spreadsheet. And what you'll do is you'll go into PDGA. I think I still have this up. I haven't updated it yet because I wanted to look at it with you. It still says 931 as of September 13th. If you go over to ratings detail, please don't update. I was wrong. It says 943. Why does it only say 943? It should be 947. Something not get evaluated? Interesting. This changes one thing, but actually nothing. That is super lame. But it looks like I was slightly wrong, but I'm still going to post this because I'm pretty sure my spreadsheet is still correct. I just made one assumption that, like I said, we had to make that didn't end up being true. So we can see my current rating is 943, not 947. And the reason for that is if we look at my evaluated and included right here, this 838 right here is evaluated and included, even though I thought it wouldn't be because it's lower than 100 points below. That's kind of really stupid because it's decimal, but whatever. What you do up here is you go to date and sort it by your oldest to newest. So you have your newest ones down here, and then if you just go ahead and copy this whole thing and go back to the sheet and paste it. I'm gonna make a copy of this actually real fast. But we'll go paste right here, and it's gonna paste all of those into this thing right here. Now there is something that we still have to do because it's showing that my rating would be 751, and I would have to delete rounds below 651. All new tournament ratings we'll have to add in here. So I put room for events where you could just say event 1 or something like that, and then the rating we'll just call 1020 because that's definitely what my rating is gonna be there, and that'll add to the number of ratings that you have total and it's going to add to the ratings that you need to count double, which is up here if you have more than 9 rounds total. So if you don't have 9 rounds, then don't add any of these double rounds. But since I haven't played any new rounds, all I have to do is take my most recent 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, copy those ratings and paste them here. And now we can see that I have a number of rounds is 25. It double counts all 6 of those rounds, which would first be from your new rounds and then from the old rounds. There's an initial calculation that's hidden under these black boxes here. Here, let me show you just real fast, because my average for all these ratings is 938.19. So in my assumption, that would mean that I would delete stuff that's 100 points below that, which would be anything 838.19 and below. It looks like PDGA doesn't know how to not round. Hey, one reason that I just thought of for this is that there might actually be decimal places on the rounds that they don't show you on PDGA's website. So my 838 rated round might be like 838.4 rated or something super stupid like that. That means that it's not lower than 938.19, or maybe they're just rounding. I don't get it. I wish they'd be a little more transparent. My spreadsheet will be accurate. Everything below 838, not including. Okay, back to me in the past. That's some point 10 minutes ago. Bye. But because they don't know how to not round, I just changed this function to be delete rounds below 838, because you don't want to delete your 838 rounds apparently, because PDGA is still going to include them because they don't know how to round. So if we go here to Thunderbird Throwdown 778 and we just delete that, which what I do is actually, instead of deleting it so that you can still see that the rating is there, you add C to the round to show that you canceled it out. So if you just click on it, hit return, and then add a C, then it's not going to take it into account. And now we can see apparently now they're going to round down, because now my round rating, oh my gosh. Okay, PDGA, why do none of their roundings work in your favor? Because now it says that my round rating would be 944, but we can see that that's because this number is 943.53333. Sheets, just like everyone assumes, hey, you round that to the closest number, which would be 944, but apparently you don't do that. So I gotta change this rating function to, instead of round, to round down, and now we have the correct rating of 943. Unfortunately, we learned a lot about PDGA that is dumb right now, where this is 943, even though that's so stupid. Why can't I delete this 838 round even though my thing was 938.19? Whatever, all my calculations were correct. I just didn't make the correct assumptions, so this spreadsheet should now work for you. The last thing that might be questionable is the number of rounds that are double counted. And I'm having, as you can see, the number of double counted rounds be rounded just normally, but if there's 15 rounds, it goes up to 4, even though 16 divided by 4 is 4, and so I don't trust PDGA to round that number up now. So that might be the one thing that makes this not accurate, but otherwise, if you put all of your previous ratings in here that are already in your ratings detail within the last 12 months, so make sure if you have stuff that's older than the last 12 months, you don't include that. You just start your copy paste from down a little bit, and then you'll go ahead and add in all of your new tournament rounds that are going to be evaluated next month, which actually doesn't include league rounds, because one thing that I noticed is that league rounds, like these ones that say L, don't actually get evaluated or like submitted officially to the PDGA until after this date right here, when they finally end. So I didn't actually see any of these rounds, even though I did all of them in April, until June's rating update. So that's one thing to know. Make sure that if you do have more recent rounds of them, you count those in these double counted rounds. I know it's a little bit complicated. There's one last thing that you're gonna have to ignore on here, which is this new part, to add C2 rounds below this number. And that's because, as we can see, PDGA only evaluates this one time, meaning that since they recalculated my rating to be 943, they're not now going and looking at rounds that are below 843 for me to delete, because this 838 round is still there. So after you delete rounds one time, never look at these numbers again, and your rating will just be right here. Learned a lot. Unfortunately, didn't go in my favor. Very frustrated that they didn't let me take out this 838 rated round. That's so dumb, because my rating is 100 points above that, just based on their own system. But I guess just keeping it at a decimal point is too hard, which is dumb. And if you need an example, I do have a second tab in that Google Sheet that shows the example from the video, which is actually before this rating updated, because I made this yesterday. As you can see, I do have that C next to 838 because I thought that PDGA knew how to round. I'm like really milking this for all it's worth. But if we go ahead and delete that, we can see it updates now to 943, which should be 944 because they should round the same way both times. But they don't, they always just round down. But that's how that works. And if you're interested in disc reviews, training videos, challenge videos, maybe other things like this, if there is anything else in disc golf, definitely subscribe. But check out my last challenge right here, which is a full tilt versus one of the craziest par 4s at a top 10 course in the world when I was in Minnesota, or my latest disc reviews right down here. I'll see you guys there.